Greetings, everyone. Brad here with Mild Mannered EDC. And we're going to do a review today that I've been wanting to do for a while. I just was kind of taking my time with it and getting to know it, getting a little more familiar with it, so that I could give you kind of a real honest, evaluation of kind of how I feel about the little multi-tool here. And that is this interesting little object called the ToolFob. Yep, this is the ToolFob. So I've seen this on Instagram. Lots of folks have probably seen this on Instagram, and I reached out. So I was really intrigued by it, and we'll talk about why I was intrigued by it. Obviously, you can see it's got a lot of really interesting kind of things going on here. So yeah, I was interested. So I reached out to Bruce over at ToolFob and said, "Hey, listen, that's a really interesting product you've got there. Would you mind sending me one just as a review sample so I could check it out for review? I mean, I'll send it back to you, no problem there. I just think it could be something that I think folks could be really interested in, and I'm interested in it as well." And he was super gracious and said, "Of course, no problem at all," and sent it right out and sent it with a few other items that we'll talk about here in a sec. But yeah, and so I really appreciate that, Bruce over at ToolFob. Thanks for being a class act with that. I really appreciate it, and giving me a chance to look at this so that I could really ultimately share it with all of you, which I think is really what I was hoping to do. Because and I'm glad that after I've had some time to look at it and have it in my pocket and use it a little bit, that it's something I didn't want to do any hard use with it, obviously, But yeah, I think it's something you're going to find really interesting. So let's go ahead and talk about this little fascinating, essentially pocket or keychain tool. And I've said before, right? So sorry, let me just give one more disclaimer. So I am not a big multi-tool guy, right? I am not a guy that carries one of these with him on a regular basis. That's just, my work doesn't necessitate it, and it's just not who I am. But I do carry things like, a Swiss Army knife, usually one smaller than that, with me. And, I like to have some little additional levels of functionality. And this was actually really intriguing to me because not only of the size of it, but boy, it comes with a lot of other little interesting things. So let's, with that caveat, let's kind of get back to what we were talking about. So let's talk size kind of right off the bat. So this little ToolFob is 2 1/8 inches this way and 1 5/16 inches this way. So that's 54 millimeters this way and 33 millimeters this way. And it comes in at a light 1.4 ounces. Yeah, 1.4 ounces because why? Well, this is what's so cool about this. It's titanium. That's right. The shell, the hardware, just about everything with the exception of the blades, and we'll talk about those, are titanium. And that not only does that make that really cool and interesting and separate it from a lot of other multi-tools out there, pocket or otherwise, but it also just makes it super lightweight. And, really, you almost have to pick it up to believe it. When you first get it, you're just like, whoa. So feather lightweight, 1.4 ounces there. As I mentioned, grade 5 titanium, so, really high level kind of aerospace grade titanium. And it comes with a variety of little things. Now, this particular model comes with 21 tool options, or 21 sort of functions that it can do. And it does a couple of things that I think you can sort of add into that functionality, and we'll talk about that as we get more thorough into the review. And I thought what we would do, because there's a lot to kind of dissect here, we'll sort of talk about the outside, and then we'll work our way in and kind of go tool by tool so you can get a sense of what we're dealing with here. So from the outside, you can see everything. It's in this kind of interesting oval shape. You've got this flush hardware, which is really a nice effect. You can tell that there's one of the things that really has struck me about this is the attention to detail, not only on the machining, but the execution of sort of an assembly of this. It's really done well. For an object this size, and maybe that's an important thing to do. Let's do a little size comparison here. So this is a standard. This is my old classic Leatherman, right? So you've got an old classic Leatherman here. Here's your ToolFob. It's the Mild Mannered channel. There's your Best Tech Swordfish. There you go, right? Standard Swiss Army knife. Maybe I'll open it just so you can see it open. There you go. And closed. There you go. You know, from a thickness standpoint, not much more than, yeah. So, you know, really pretty compact for what you're getting and the number of tools you're getting along with that. So there you go. You can see it's sort of done in these layers, which, you know, that's fine. Nothing wrong with that. I think that's sort of what necessitated that. On one end, you've got sort of this hex, accommodating hex bits there, right? So you can do, or an Allen wrench, right? You could put an Allen wrench through there. Here's an example of that, right? You could put an Allen wrench. You can see this one's a little too small, actually, but if you have I think it's a 5... I want to say it's a 5 or 3/16 rather. I think it's a 3/16 fits in there. But yeah, so if you were assembling something, you could get some additional torque on there. If you had, you know, I just don't have one that size, but that's fine. And then you've got just a round size here, and this is really perfect for keychain. So you can hook it right on your keychain, and it actually fits really well. And it really is in your pocket. You don't notice it, not only because of the size, but it's just so darn lightweight. So yeah, so you've got that. One of the things that I do want to point out, so you've got internally, yeah, this thing comes out. This is pretty cool, right? And what is this, you're asking? Well, this is just a little piece of titanium. But what is it used for? Well, it's actually a whistle. That's right. So you pop it in here. So you get this little place, and I'm going to do it off camera. There you go. Woo! Sorry, that probably sounded not too great on the on the camera there, but yeah. So you've got this option. You can carry around this little emergency whistle, and what I love about this is it's totally, you know, it's made of great materials, but it's totally low tech, right? I mean, you don't need anything to make it work other than being able to breathe. So if you're not breathing, you know, you probably have bigger problems than just that. So now you're saying to yourself, okay, so is there anything else you can do with this center area? Well, I'm so glad you asked. One of the other things that you're easily able to do is take a hex bit. So any, you know, 1/4 by 1 inch hex bit will fit. It locks. You can pop it in here, and there you go. And you can carry it around. And it actually, he sent me, it comes with one of these. So if you buy the pack that has, it comes with, you know, a little set, although most of us have these kind of things laying around. This is not coming out. I mean, honestly, I have shaken it. I have flicked it. I have done all kinds of things. I mean, until you get your finger in there and pop it out, you're not going to be able to do that. And part of the reason why, and you'll see it, let me see if I can get a little light on that, actually. There we go. You see where it's got sort of a little tension rod in there, and it's on both sides. Not rod, but sort of tension discs that sort of sit in there. That's really cool. I mean, just from a pure engineering standpoint, the fact that you were able to take something this small and put that level of detail. So it's not just it's not just, oh, it's tight enough where it fits in there. No, he went to the effort of doing it in a way so that they seem to go in easier on one side or the other. It does tend to be that way. So that you're able to actually, you know, get something in there in a way that it's not just being held in and hoping it doesn't come out. It's actually got some tension components to it to make it stay in there. That's also the case. So you could take your hex bit, you can lock it into here, and gosh, I mean, this thing is so secure. I mean, there's no wiggle, and you know, then you've got yourself an ability to do whatever you need to do there. For us knife folks, you know, you throw a T8 in there, and you know, chances are that's your pivot size, and you're able to tighten that pivot up wherever you go. So yeah, I mean, really cool. But I do want to highlight again. Oops, sorry, I bumped the camera. You can see he did the same thing in the little hex driver area. So you can see where that little cutout is in there. There you go. So yeah, I mean, this is pretty darn cool. I mean, it's hard for me to sort of, yeah, I really compliment him on taking the time to put that level of detail and engineering into this particular item. So there you go. So you've got this option. You can take, you know, you can put your your bits in there. You've got this cool little titanium whistle. It also comes standard with a ferrocerium rod. So, these you can use as a little fire starter, right? So you can keep that in there if you want and carry it around if you're out back, hiking or camping around or doing whatever. So yeah, I mean, that's really cool. Now, Bruce also did mention to me he's working on believe it or not, a flashlight that will be able to fit inside there. So you could it'll have a little flashlight component that potentially could be in there. So, I mean, there's just a million things that could evolve and you could probably find, an ability to get in there and use that as a storage spot. So there you go. That's kind of the main focus of what goes on in that little centerpiece. But again, the highlight to me is the engineering. I think it's really cool. So we've talked about kind of the outside, going around the outside. Now let's start to walk through the tools a bit so you get a sense of what's actually inside this thing. And I apologize this video goes a little long, but there's a lot to talk about here, and I think it's interesting enough. Hopefully it'll keep your interest. So you've got blades. Here's the first blade that pops out. Kind of a standard little blade. It's sharp. It's certainly sharp enough. I've cut some paper with it, cut a few other little things with it. Now, these are the only parts of this, the blades that we'll talk about are the only parts of this tool that are not titanium. These are actually 410 stainless. And yeah, 410, not the greatest, but you can sharpen it up. It's really pretty small, and these are not designed to be, this, right? I mean, it's a little package opener. It's an envelope opener. It's cutting a piece of rope. I mean, any of that, fishing line or something, although there's other tools that could maybe do that a little better. So yeah, so you've got that little thing. The other thing that's interesting about these is all of these are fully replaceable. So you break a blade or you damage a blade or, whatever, you mangle it somehow, you're able to replace them, no problem. So I think that's pretty cool. So there you go. So you've got this little blade. You've got, well, there we go. That one opened up. So let's talk about it. You've got some titanium tweezers. There you go. Tweezers. Oop, you can see that. Do they work? They do indeed. In fact, I pulled some hairs out earlier. Ow. So yeah, who doesn't like a good pair of tweezers, right? So very functional, very useful. What do we got here? We've got a nail file, and this actually works really, really well. It's rough. I don't know if you can kind of see how that, there you go. So good nail file. And then on the flip side of that, there you go. You've got a little measuring tool. So you're able to take your, and go, oh, what do we got here? Oh, it's, there you go, 3/4 of an inch or whatever. So yeah, I think that's a neat dual purpose for that particular thing. What else we got here? So we've got 2 saws on this side. Let me fold this down. We'll talk a little bit about accessibility. That's one of the things that's a little bit of a downer sometimes with this. So you've got 2 saws. You've got a kind of a standard wood saw here, and then what he's calling a hacksaw for these, for that particular tool. I think it would work. I did cut some small little pieces of wood, and I actually sawed through a couple little toothpicks too, just to try it out, and a chopstick, and it worked just fine. Cut right through and actually worked pretty clean little cuts. So kind of hard to argue with there. And then here you've got another little blade. This is great for, draw cuts or package opening or whatever. I think for that ferrocerium rod. So yeah, I mean, cool. Now on the other side, you've got a serrated blade. So, clamshell packages, whatever. There you go. Another one of those. You've got this interesting, I think he's calling this part, you could do sort of I think this is a wire stripper kind of right in there. See how that is? So there's a little blade kind of in there. So you've got a wire stripper. And then you've got a 5.432 millimeter little, hex wrenches. And in fact, if you wanted to get a little extra torque on these, right, this fits in there nicely, just to do that kind of thing. And I think he specifically designed these for there's computer dongles, there's fishing lures. I think down here, the 2 could do spokes on a bike. I mean, there's just a number of things you could use these for that make that pretty handy. So there you go. Pretty neat. We talked about that. Here's one of the other things I really enjoy on this. Yep, you guessed it, pliers. Now, these are tiny, right? I mean, let's do a little, yeah. So, I mean, these aren't these, and these aren't meant to be these. So, I mean, we have to keep everything under that context. That's not what these are for. But if there's something that you want to pick up, or, I think on the website he talks about, you get a cactus spine in you or something. I mean, what a perfect way to kind of pull that out. Or just anything that you come across that maybe you don't want to touch with your fingers, but you can grab it. They're not on a spring. It's purely through your own movement there. But you're able to, pick something up. There you go, and they work just fine. So yeah, I think that's pretty cool. And again, it's the attention to detail with the engineering there that I am a particular fan of. I mean, everything is flush, lines up well. The little teeth even line up. I mean, just really, really well done. So what else we got here? Here we go. How could I forget? Sorry, I'm jiggling everything around trying to make this work here. This is kind of actually hard to do on a through a viewfinder here. Okay, so we've got a comb. That's right, you've got a titanium comb, and I'll put a little video up of me using this to comb my daughter's hair just to see if it would actually work. And there was no pain reported. This thing actually works, believe it or not. This works pretty darn well. So kind of a fun little item there included. And then you've got your flathead right there, along with a strap cutter, or any sort of fishing line maybe, or something else you could run along there and just pop that through. So yeah, so there you go. That's your sort of complement of tools. And are they all are they all this? Are they all this? No, yes, and no, right? I mean, they're definitely small, because that's what you get when you want something in a small package. But they're small, but they're also done really well. And I think they're done as well as you can do them for something that size, if that makes sense. So, my main gripes with this, and and I'm sorry, I did forget one thing. So this right here, you can see these kind of, and you've got them on all of them. Here are the little access points. These can be, these do serve as bottle openers or cap lifters, right? They're a little sharp, actually. So I kind of find there's some sharpness here that I would like to see those maybe, chamfered a bit, or doing something maybe slightly differently with. But yeah, there's that. The only other real gripe is, and you see me sort of fumbling with that through this video, is accessing the tools. It's not, you've got a lot of tools here, and so accessing them is not all, some of them come out if you kind of do them this way, so which is helpful, because that one's kind of right in the middle, so you can pull that out, and there you've got your little wrench. Some of them, there's your tweezers, so they're not the easiest to kind of, sometimes you do kind of have to do the fumbling and pulling out, but that's a trade-off that you're making with something this size. And I think, it is what it is. Either you're going to like that or you're not. The other sort of gripes I have with this, the 410 maybe is a bit of a gripe, but honestly, I was having a hard time. My initial thing was, I want to judge these as all being really small and kind of gimmicky, and they're not really. I mean, I would say that if they weren't done in good materials with the attention to detail, whether it's with the tension bars or any of the other things that they've sort of done he's done to make this as high quality a tool as he could. And so for this little tool, which runs you about $91, I think is what they are. I think they're currently on sale on his site for that much. And is it worth that? I think it is. And I say that only because it's very unique. They're clearly, they don't lock. So that was one thing that was another thing. Sorry, I meant to mention, just it came through my head, so I wanted to mention that. They don't lock, but $91. I'm sure some of you are just going, what? Get out of here. But understand what you were talking about here. We're talking about some pretty significant engineering. We're talking about all titanium. functional tools, comes with these other neat accessories. And so, yeah, I mean, I have a hard time knocking it at that price, honestly. I do think I saw these on Drop recently. I think he got a little deal going with Drop. I don't remember what the price was going through the Drop system, but no, I mean, these are great. And I can see, that there's potential for, additions, changes, swap outs to various tools. I could see a whole line of things that you could add, to add or take, kind of add functionality or customize it to something that's, kind of perfect for you. But for what it is, I think this is a really cool tool. I'm really appreciative of Bruce to sending this along so I could check it out and to be able to share it with you. I know this is a 20-minute video, so it's really going on long, but we're going about a minute a tool there, right? So, so I don't think that's too bad. But yeah, no, I mean, I think there's a lot of fun to this. I think it's something I enjoyed carrying it and having it in my pocket. I used it actually multiple times for a couple of little things. And if you're a camper or a backpacker or a hiker, just having something like this hanging off your backpack or in your pocket or in your pack somewhere, there's a lot there that you're carrying around at 1.4 ounces in something that the vast majority of it is never going to rust. It's never going to corrode. I mean, because of that titanium, just cool. It's not meant to replace your normal pocket knife or your standard multi-tool, but it does add that other level, that other sort of dimension of functionality. So there you go. I hope you found this interesting. I hope this is a tool you'd be willing to check out. Head over to the ToolFob website, give it a look, see the other kind of things he's got listed on there. He's got a good site with, it's got some good sense of humor around some of the tools and things like that. So it's worth checking out at a minimum. But yeah, so with that, stay safe out there, particularly nowadays. Be mild-mannered to one another, and all the best.